Terror politics killing Jammu and Kashmir. DGP's truth bomb hits its mark.
Pakistan successfully came to infiltrate all important aspects of our civil society. Thanks to the regional so-called mainstream politics in the valley,
Gupkar gang gets triggered. Angry Mehbooba cries foul.
By now, the head should have rolled. The DJ should have been sacked by now.
Reality bites Kashmir's VIP netas. Has politics ruined Naya Kashmir? Big focus on India first.
27-year-old Captain Brijesh Thapa from Darjeeling always wanted to don the uniform and serve Mother India. A third-generation soldier, Captain Brijesh Thapa made the supreme sacrifice of his life fighting Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror in the Doda area of Jammu and Kashmir. Sadly, those terrorists are still at large. In fact, these terrorists are now widening their arc of operation from Rajouri Poonch to even Riyasi Doda. This should have alarm bells ringing not just in North and South Block in Delhi, the Ministries of Home Affairs and Defence, but also in Raj Bhavan in Jammu and Kashmir. We cannot continue to lose soldiers and civilians to this radical Islamist terror. And the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, RR Swain, he stirred a hornet's nest claiming political parties cultivated leaders of terror network for votes. That's a huge claim. But the question remains, what action is being taken? He's not an opposition leader. He is the Director General of Police of Jammu and Kashmir. We explore. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started with the headlines on India First. Fraud IAS Pooja Khedkar shunted out of Maharashtra, relieved of all duties, recalled to IAS Academy. This mega India Today impact of IAS fraud expose. CBI NEET leak probe intensifies. 2 more arrests from Bihar and Jharkhand, accused who allegedly stole the NEET papers from a sealed trunk and the distributor have been arrested. India bloc ally Mukesh Sahani's father Jeetam brutally murdered in Darbhanga, Bihar. VIP chief meets the Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, says the guilty must be punished. A special investigation team has been formed. Another gruesome murder in Tamil Nadu. Gang chases down and hacks NTK Neta to death in Madurai. BJP lashes out, demands Chief Minister MK Stalin's resignation. In the United States, Donald Trump makes a roaring comeback 2 days after the assassination bid, declares J.D. Vance as his vice presidential pick. Four braves of the Indian Army, including a young Army Captain Brijesh Thapa of the 10th Battalion, the Rashtriya Rifles, made the supreme sacrifice of their lives chasing terrorists in the Doda area of Jammu and Kashmir. After the first contact with terrorists, they melted into the forest with the Army team in hot pursuit. Initial information indicates that a larger group of terrorists apparently were lying in wait and opened fire, with 4 of our braves being killed in action. The bigger question, more than 24 hours later, what is the intelligence input and where are the operations to neutralize these terrorists and other terrorists who've been operating virtually with impunity south of Pir Panjal? And then there is this big political fight over the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, RR Swain's claim that political parties in Jammu and Kashmir cultivated leaders of terror networks for votes. India Today's Sunil G. Bhatt gets you our top story.
Captain Brijesh Thapa killed in action in the Doda Encounter. Sepoy Bijendra killed in action in the Doda Encounter. Sepoy Ajay killed in action in the Doda Encounter. Nayak D. Rajesh killed in action in the Doda Encounter. Yet another terror attack in Jammu division where 4 army braves lost their lives. The encounter took place when the troops of the 10 Rashtriya Rifles and the Special Operations Group of the J&K Police launched a joint cordon and search operation 55 kilometers from Doda town in the Desa forest belt.
This entire stretch is surrounded by dense forests, mountains, so it becomes very difficult for security forces to carry out counter-terror operation in areas like these. Unfortunately, on most occasions in the recent past, the Pakistani terrorists who have carried out these dastardly terror attacks have managed to escape from the terror attack spots. That is why this time around, the security forces want to ensure that these coward Pakistani terrorists don't escape and they are neutralized as soon as possible.
Among the 4 army men killed in action was an officer, just 27 years old, who led his brave troops in chasing the fleeing terrorists in the challenging, thickly forested terrain. Captain Brijesh Thapa joined the army just 5 years ago. His shattered, grieving parents remembered their brave son and expressed today how proud they are of him.
गौरव तो अभी हो गया ही क्योंकि नेचुरली उसने अपने देश के लिए अपने जान दे रखा है ना, तो हो गए. बट हमारा तो काफ़ी बड़ा लॉस भी हो गया वो, तो वो हमको अभी टाइम लगेगा थोड़ा सा अंडरस्टैंड करना. अभी भी हमको ऐसे लग रहा है कि पता नहीं अभी क्या हो रहा है वो,
क्योंकि उसका इंटरेस्ट छोटे से फौज में और देश के लिए लड़ना था, तो उन्होंने अपना कभी वो ऐसा इसे डरे नहीं, कभी वो झुके नहीं और हमेशा जो है वो जो भी काम था वो अपना ठीक ठाक करता था और जो भी बोला वो सही करता था.
Officials said the gun battle began after a cordon and search operation was launched in the Desa forest area around 7:45 p.m. on Monday.
Based on that specific input, a massive anti-terror operation was launched by the security forces. Indian Army and Special Operations Group of Jammu and Kashmir Police worked together and this counter-terror operation was launched at about 7 p.m. last evening. At about 9 p.m. the security forces were successful in establishing a contact with the terrorists who were hiding in the upper reaches. Unfortunately, in the gunfight, 4 of our brave hearts sustained serious injuries, and in the morning we got this tragic news, we got this unfortunate news that all 4 of them attained Veer Gati. They made the supreme sacrifice of their lives for the nation.
Amidst the spate of terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir's top cop, the DGP, blamed regional parties for helping Pakistan's sinister terror agenda.
Pakistan successfully came to infiltrate all important aspects of our civil society. Thanks to the regional so-called mainstream politics in the valley, there is overwhelming evidence to show that many had honed the art of running with the hare and hunting with the hound to a near science that left both the common men and the security men bewildered, frightened and confused.
Former J&K Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has demanded the DGP's resignation, terming him a political tool.
By now, the head should have rolled. The DG should have been sacked by now. Because जो इस वक्त हो रहा है पिछले 32 months में almost 50 soldiers have lost their lives. Nobody is being held accountable.
In the last month, Jammu alone has witnessed 5 terror attacks with Jawans dying in the line of action. In 2024 alone, 27 terrorists and 15 security personnel have been killed in action. With Sunil G. Bhatt in Doda, Jammu and Kashmir, Bureau Report, India Today.
So when the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police says Pakistan had infiltrated all important aspects of civil society in J&K and that political parties cultivated leaders of these terror networks for votes, it's a hugely alarming statement to make, and it's resulted in this war of words with PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti calling for his sacking, saying he's not doing his job. Where is he catching terrorists? What are these statements all about? But what do these statements mean? Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General of Infantry. And do remember, infantry plays a very critical role in counter-terror operations. SP Vaid is the former Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police. Najmu Saqib represents the PDP on this special broadcast, and Irfan Hafiz Loan is a lawyer and activist, a part of the civil society in J&K. But Mr. Vaid, what do you make of DGP Swain's comments? Political parties cultivated leaders of terror network for votes. Is that true, sir?
Gaurav, first of all, my tribute to the martyrs and condolences to their families.
Thank you.
Then coming to your question, see, we all knew Kashmir. We have all worked there, lived there, but more than 3 decades. As far as his statement that every aspect of civil society of Kashmir was basically infiltrated by ISI, that statement is to very, very large extent correct. In fact, you take it academia, you take civil society, the bar, the bureaucracy, police, even my own department, you take educational institutions, any wing of the civil society, media, they were all affected because in the 90s, when terrorism erupted, there was a subversion of almost every part of the civil society, and political parties are also part of it, and everyone got affected. There's no doubt about it. Only difference is many of us did not make statement in the open, but we all knew this. I think RR Swain has made a statement, but we must also realize that a lot of political workers also got killed in this.
I'll come to that aspect in just a moment, but I want to bring in Najmu Saqib into this conversation. Sir, you represent the PDP. RR Swain is accusing leaders of J&K, of political leaders of J&K, that they've mastered the art of running with the hare and hunting with hounds. Sir, has he completely exposed, 1, the political leadership, 2, elements in the civil society in Jammu and Kashmir?
That for me, Gaurav?
Yes, sir. Go on.
Good to see you, Gaurav, after a long time. I mean, it's really unfortunate that we are speaking in the time when we continuously are losing our Jawans. For last, I think, 1.5 years, it has been a terrible spate of killings, and whether that be in Kathua or whether that's in Rajouri, Punch, or now in Doda as well. Look, all we are saying is, and first of all, let me say, that our hearts go out to the families who are losing their loved ones. I mean, the images on your screen of a mother and father crying, but still maintaining that decorum and that courage, I think that is, that's very heartwarming and painful at the same time. So our thoughts and prayers are with those families who have lost their loved ones in this recent spate of the killings. But having said that, look, Gaurav, all we have said and all our party president has said is that, look, you cannot... We are saying that your fight is with an enemy. Continue to do that job. Do not scapegoat us for your failures. I mean, you've been at the helm of affairs for the last 7 years now. If you cannot stop the sort of infiltration, or if there is an intelligence failure on your part, do not blame the mainstream political parties. We have lost thousands of party cadre members to this vicious cycle of violence. We have continued to be the torch bearers and flag bearers of democracy in Jammu and Kashmir by painting us and sort of, putting a name on all the mainstream. I think we are doing a disservice to this nation. And I completely look, wherever the people of this country have of mainstream, I think we have risen up to the challenge and we have done the job excellently.
Fair enough. General Kulkarni, are political leaders in Jammu and Kashmir playing both sides? Is that impacting India's war on terror? Respond to PDP leaders or Najmu Saqib, for example, on the broadcast saying political parties in J&K, they've risen to the occasion, they've shed blood, they've fought for India against Pakistan, and they're being unfairly targeted and tarnished.
Gaurav, of course, very sorry to have heard all this. But at the very outset, I must say I absolutely endorse the DGP Swain and DGP Wade. There is no denying the fact, because I have served in Doda from 96 to 99. And I can tell you with certainty that yes, there is no denying the fact. As much as the fish can't stay without water, neither can this terrorist stay without local support. And that local support to them comes encouraged by these politicians without fail. It is coming for whatever the reason it may be. There is no denying the fact that some politicians, some locals have also lost their lives fighting against terrorism. No denying the fact. We have confronted, I've been telling people, I've confronted so many families in Doda. In Doda, I'm telling you, in Thatri, I can tell you with certainty, I would go to their houses and ask them, why don't you let your son surrender? Why don't you let your son surrender? Please, we know he's a... At the end of it, they would say, Janab, aap maar do. What do you mean maar do? Of course we will kill him. Without fail, we will kill him. There's no denying the fact we'll kill him. But from the same family, we will have somebody doing Anganwadi, somebody a teacher, somebody a shopkeeper, somebody an engineer. What does that mean? That family is earning a goodwill just because that one child of that family is a militant. Until and unless you strike that family, until and unless you get rid of this local support, which of course is perpetuated by Pakistan, because Pakistan is a hub of terror. Pakistan is continuously using terror as an instrument of state policy. And
respond Irfan Lone. These are very pertinent points that are being made. Members of the civil society in Jammu and Kashmir siding with Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. Had that not been true, sir, mosques in Srinagar and in Kashmir Valley would not have been used to say Raliv, Galiv, ya Saliv. And we've seen the exodus of Kashmiri Hindus from the valley in the 1990s, sir.
See, first of all, my heartfelt condolences to bereaved families. Mr. Sawant, first of all, I seek apology from all those who used to say that no sooner we remove 370 special states from J&K, things will normalize, Kashmiri Pandits will return back, Apsara will go, it will be a normal state, including your good self. You used to make very tall claims that 370 will go, it will be a return of the normalcy. But you have seen things are moving from bad to worse. So
I'm sorry, I completely disagree with you. And since you go on rhetoric, I go on facts. I'll let you complete your point, and then I'll destroy your tall claims with facts. We'll put out those facts on India Today, how things have improved in Jammu and Kashmir on the terror front after abrogation of Article 370 with facts, sir. But please complete your point.
See, first of all, let me tell you, we all are here worst victim. Thousands of the workers of these political parties were killed. And this common Kashmiri was worst victim of this turmoil. And I would like to remind you, the Honorable Supreme Court in 370 judgment held, let there be a commission which will investigate all sorts of violations, not from one side, all sorts of violations. Thereby meaning we are worst victim of this turmoil. And to blame that
and yet some people sided with Pakistan despite being worst victims of turmoil. I agree with you, Kashmir has suffered, but I want you to respond to that very specific question, that terrorists may have been eliminated, but those responsible for recruitment and those responsible for funding terror were never investigated. But sir, since you raised a question about things have deteriorated.
One thing is very clear.
Okay, give me a moment, gentlemen. I want to quickly cut across to Mr. RR Swain, the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, joining us on this special broadcast. Mr. Swain, welcome on India Today. Sir, you've stirred quite a hornet's nest with your comment. Political parties cultivated leaders of terror networks for votes. Sir, can you elaborate on this, please? Which are these political parties? Which are these political leaders?
No. I mean, that was very honestly a different context in which that was said. I must candidly make a mention that the occasion was an address to a select gathering in the Indian Institute of Management, where we were a keynote address as to how strategies are made, whether it is for large organizations or nation states who are busy into making national security strategies. So it was a very different academic context in which this was discussed. Yes, it was discussed in the context that analysis and diagnosis have to be made when you really devise policies. So that was the context. It was in a very different setup in which it was made. Now,
sir, let me come to the second aspect. What you've also said is while terror recruits were eliminated, but those responsible for the recruitment and those responsible for arranging funds were never investigated. So what is the time period that you talk of, and does this problem persist in Jammu and Kashmir, that funds availability to terrorists and recruiters, they continue to flourish?
See, I mean, again, when you are talking about making a strategy that would work, you are certainly trying to think of an action plan where you would like to reach a different destination. So definitely you would always visit your strategies if the aim is that you do not want to remain in a state of logjam, an impasse in which no side is winning, and there is a gray area in which you are living. You would like to reach a solution or a destination where very clearly you would like a definite defeat of the enemy and a kind of a peace being restored, which is long lasting, and in a system in which the Jammu and Kashmir witnesses peace, prosperity, and lives in harmony with the rest of India. So therefore, it was, when you were setting goals, long-term strategies, you are very clear about as to what you want. So when you are very clear as to these are the objectives, then you have to find out as to what plans of action you will take and where exactly things are going wrong and how you are getting derailed or you are not reaching your destination. So it is in that context, in a very pure academic context I had spoken about. I think we should discuss that in a very separate setting.
But the situation
we are discussing.
Yeah, go on, sir. You thought we were discussing? Go on, sir. Kindly go on, sir. Because Mehbooba Mufti, the former Chief Minister of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, wants you to be axed, and she's used some very harsh words for you in terms of, saying that you're trying to fix things, you being a political fixer, or words to that effect, sir.
No, let's. I think it's wise to avoid. You see. When you are strategizing or when you are making an analysis, you are not indicating at individuals or individual parties or individual entities. You are trying to take stock of the entire spectrum of actors, players, forces which are at play. And there are a variety of situations which are systemic, which often overwhelms individuals and individual parties. So it is these systemic features of a kind of an ecosystem which, unless you address it fundamentally, you would really not be able to break out of a logjam or an impasse. I mean, you would not head towards what you call a decisive victory. You would continue to be in a state of seesaw.
Sir, why are we still in a state of seesaw, if I may? Are we still in a state of seesaw? Article 370 was abrogated on 5th of August 2019. Now we are in 2024 and Pakistani terrorists or Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror is still bleeding us now south of Pir Panjal. Where are we failing, sir?
See, as we speak, you see, all of us are very clear. I mean, anyone who visits Kashmir Valley is aware that the situation has visibly changed. It is not in terms of statistics alone or always, but anyone who has a first-hand experience of Kashmir would know that the fear factor has come down. Average villager would certainly say that you see the way the political parties went about their electioneering, went about holding small little nukkad parties, rallies, and late night. So there is an element of change which is certainly palpable. Now, the fact is that this is a war in which, as we say, that you have to run the antibiotic course. You can't live in between. Obviously, when you are trying to reduce the influence of an adversary which had invested itself for about more than 35 years, and perhaps earlier, obviously, they would not sit idle. Now, what I'm saying is that the course that we are having, the strategy that we are adopting, must run its course to be able to achieve a lasting peace. So this is a work in progress in which I would say that as far as the Jammu thing is concerned, broadly speaking, you see there are very few number of terrorists. You would recall that between 1995 to 2006, I think for about 11 years in Jammu province, we witnessed a lot of violence, a very intense phase of terrorism in which not only individuals but community specific massacres had taken place. Yes. See, the strategy of the enemy is certainly, very obviously, is trying to sort of see that doesn't lose the influence it had in Jammu and Kashmir. It is not only about, you see, the influence does not only mean about ability to kill. It means the ability to kill and terrorize is a part of the overall design. Through that,
sir,
they would
south
like
of Pir Panjal,
capture a complete system, a complete society. That is how a victory is achieved.
But sir, south of Pir Panjal, his arc of operation, the enemy's arc of operation is increasing. He started with Poonch Rajouri. Now he's expanding to Riasi and Doda. I mean, God forbid, next he'll either hit you in Kashmir or he'll hit you in Punjab. Either ways, the terrorist arc is improving. Point one. Point two, permit me, sir. I've covered terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir in the late 1990s and through the phases post-Kargil. I want to understand a terrorist life post that first engagement. The second engagement should take place in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. Here, terrorists since last 1.5 years have been killing our people in the hinterland. And where are we able to re-engage them? Is this weakness of our intelligence grid or is this weakness of our operations grid?
No. Be assured that, as I said, that the number of terrorists are limited. They are taking advantage of 2 to 3 things. Anyone who is aware of Jammu province, Jammu is not Kashmir. Kashmir is a flat land. It's a place where it is reachable by roads and mobile connectivity. When the information comes and the action takes place, the gap is very little. Now, here is a place. First, it is extremely mountainous and full of jungles. It is almost 2.5 times larger than Kashmir province. Yes. Almost the entire, the districts of Kashmir, Doda, Ramban, Rajouri, Poonch, and large parts of Kathua and Udhampur and even Riasi are absolutely mountains, not an inch of land which is flat. Now, what happens is 3 to 4 months of every year opens up. The upper reaches opens up. Vast grasslands and forest opens up. The villages go up. Now, these are the places, these 3-4 months actually have places where it is now full of migratory people who are grazing their lands. So the enemy has kind of developed the tactics of placing them here in as if, beyond the enemy line, SF types. So a handful of people certainly have been able to cause loss, but that is certainly nowhere near being able to create a situation like Kashmir. Why? Because firstly, the people are with us. If you go to Bhadrabad today, if you go to Doda today, if you go to Kishtwar today, if you go to Riasi today, you will find that the entire range of people, villagers, through their village defense committees and through the SPOs, they are willing to be part of the fight. They know that a couple of people who are not connected with the land, who have got no stake, completely foreign origin, Pakistan origin, have managed to come heavily armed and are taking advantage of the heights and are taking advantage of that these 3 months of opening which they have in the heights where people are there. They can go with the gunpoint and get food and then hide back into the villages. Now,
permit me.
Yes.
In these 3-4 months, why can't you put additional forces on these routes? Put a COB, put a company operating base there, put your drones there, put additional forces there, or have better intelligence, mount quick counter operations if they're operating in an area, put police and SOG in those villages where they come for food and water?
There are several things which are on. Now, all of this cannot really be discussed in an open forum like this. The tactics, the micro tactics, obviously you would understand, Gauravji, cannot be discussed. Now that the challenge has come up,
it is certainly being responded. I can only assure you that sooner than later, these perpetrators will be made to face, the dose of martyrdom from their point of view. Actually, they're a very handful, and the only question of time when the tactics changes and we are in a position to get at them.
Fair enough, sir. Wish you all the best in eliminating these terrorists. Of course, as you know better, sir, you've dealt with the situation for so long. This is like pruning the branches of the terror tree with roots in Pakistan. Perhaps all of you know so much better how those roots need to be eliminated. Mr. RR Swain, Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks. We will continue to track this story very, very closely. That's all I have time for on this broadcast. Many thanks for watching. Coming up next is Modinomics 3.0 with Business Today's Siddharth Zarabi. Stay with us.
Today Media Institute could not have been founded on a firmer footing. The India Today Group's strength in understanding and delivering high-quality content is the very foundation of ITMI. We take pride in training our students to be exceptionally professional.
Register now at www.indiatodaymediainstitute.in or call on 95600 65465.
हमारे जवान मारे जाते हैं, रोज हमारे जवान शहीद होते हैं। छोटे छोटे बच्चे छोड़ के किसी की शादी अभी हुई होती है 6 महीने पर कोई पूछताछ ही नहीं है, कोई बात ही नहीं है। उल्टा मेन स्ट्रीम को ब्लेम किया जाता है। भाई 6 साल से तो यहाँ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की सरकार चल रही है, क्या किया आपने? सारे हुर्रियत के लीडर या तो वो चले गए हैं दुनिया से या जेलों में आपके बंद हैं। आपने तो यहाँ के लोगों के साथ जंग छेड़ दी है। चाहे जर्नलिस्ट हो, बार एसोसिएशन हो, बिजनेसमैन हो, कोई मीडिया पे लिखता है, सोशल मीडिया पे, उसको जेल में डाल देते हो आप।
सबसे लचर कार्यकाल है, सबसे कमजोर कार्यकाल है। अब जुबानी जमा खर्च के अलावा कुछ बचा नहीं। मोदी सरकार एक कमजोर बुज़दिल सरकार है। थोड़ी प्रेरणा ले इंदिरा गांधी से, घूमने को इटली और सोवियत रूस से शांति की बात की फुर्सत मिली हो और देश की सुरक्षा में अपने कुछ करो।
They have every right to meet as we meet. We don't object their meeting. It is their duty. I don't want to comment on that. But at the same time, from yesterday, I am getting good inflow, more than 50,000 inflow in Kaveri region. And whatever is there, we are allowing to go out of Harangi. I think more than 20,000 was going out of Harangi and other places. If God permits us, all our problem will be sorted out.
Karnataka during last monsoon season also, Karnataka has abided whatever tribunal has ordered. In fact, our government has released more water than what they had expected. But the issue is when our farmers are in distress. Monsoon has just begun, and in the last week, all-party meeting, Bharatiya Janata Party has clearly said, informed Chief Minister, that our farmers' interest should not be compromised.
Hello and welcome to Modinomics 3.0, our special series ahead of Budget 24-25. Today we discuss infrastructure, one of the key pillars of the Viksit Bharat by 2047 vision of Prime Minister Modi's government. Let's first take a look at why hundreds and thousands of crores of rupees are being put into infrastructure development all across the country and what the government expects that to deliver for Bharat.
हमारे तीसरे टर्म में भारत दुनिया की तीसरी बड़ी आर्थिक ताकत बनेगा। और ये मोदी की गारंटी है।
Propelling India to new economic heights among the top 3 world economies, this Viksit Bharat vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is riding hugely on the infrastructure growth engine. Massive investments have been earmarked for highways, seaports, airports, railways, urban connectivity and smart cities. Under the ambitious Gati Shakti plans of the Modi government, a little above 11 lakh crore rupees was allocated to the infra sector in the interim budget this year, 11% over last year's 10 lakh crore budget capex. The allocation was 3.4% of the GDP. According to an SBI report, this amount can be further enhanced by 70,000 crore rupees to 11.8 lakh crore in next week's budget. The enormous outlays the Modi government hopes will not only sustain but accelerate the momentum the Indian economy is currently enjoying, stimulate private capital expenditure and increase consumption. However, some critics are picking holes in the infrastructure-led development narrative. Ratan Roy, former member of the PMEAC, says the centre's capex increase have largely substituted for decline in investment by public sector enterprises.
It is not that the central government is investing more. It is investing more on budget, but only to compensate for the fact that just like private investment, the public sector, the public corporate sector is investing less. There's a small incremental effect coming from state government investments, but state government budgets are maxed out. So I don't see any further scope for that.
Doubts are also being raised about the quality of work after several bridges collapsed in Bihar last fortnight. Highways and roads have caved in after a short spell of rains. Huge traffic jams are the bane of urban commuters, and waterlogging is a common sight in metro cities. There is also concern over the tolls being charged for using the newly built highway infrastructure. While the highways and expressways have made travelling easier, costs have shot up as well. Toll rates of more than 3 rupees a kilometre are being charged on several routes across India. The Modi government's big bet on infra is expected to fast-track creation of jobs as well as lay out a logistical and digital framework to help every segment of the society, from farmers to entrepreneurs and the youth. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
While the government has boosted budgetary allocations for infrastructure, the question is, will it continue on this path and spend more, or does the economy demand that the government spurs consumption? Here's what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had to say earlier in the interim budget this February.
Building on the massive tripling of the capital expenditure outlay in the past 4 years, resulting in huge multiplier impact on economic growth and employment creation, the outlay for the next year is being increased by 11.1% to 11,111 crore rupees. This would be 3.4% of our GDP. Railways. 3 major economic railway corridor programs will be implemented. These are Energy, Mineral and Cement Corridor, Number 2, port connectivity corridors. And number 3, high traffic density corridors. The projects have been identified under the PM Gati Shakti for enabling multimodal connectivity. They will improve logistics efficiency and reduce cost.
We just heard a small chunk of what Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said about his economic vision at the India Today conclave earlier this March. Here is the longer version of what he had said. So will these massive investments in India's infrastructure sector have the multiplier effect that the government is hoping for? How can the gaps in this Amrit Kal Viksit Bharat by 2047 vision be plugged? To answer that, I'm joined by, welcome to the show, Vinayak. I want to begin by asking you, in your view, what should be the priorities as far as infrastructure is concerned in the first budget of the third term of the Modi government? We've seen in the recent past a lot of investments. Is that strategy fine, or should there be any more tweaks in that? Vinayak.
No, the broad strategy is fine. You know, for the last many years, this government has followed public expenditure, public outlay, infrastructure spend, all these words are similar, led economic strategy, which is that infrastructure outlays have been used to pump prime the economy. And you would have noticed that year on year for the last 4-5 years, budgetary outlays every year in the budget have increased by either 25 or 30%. So I think the important macroeconomic point is that there needs to be a very clear continuation of this policy where infra investments continue to pump prime the economy. And therefore, I am expecting that on the basis of the last full year budget, I'm not talking about the interim budget, which I think was just a holding operation, as the last full year budget had allocated 10 lakh crores total outlay for the infrastructure sector in the union budget. And based on those trends and based on the macroeconomic requirements, I am actually hoping that the finance minister allocates 13 lakh crores this year. This is important because the macroeconomic maths is such that if the government spends about 13 lakh crores, then 3 other constituents spend an equal amount, which means all the states put together, private sector and what is called EBR, extra budgetary resources. They will end up matching the union government spend. So you will have 13 plus 13, 26 lakh crores as the total infra budget of the country. And that is important to keep the GDP pump prime at 7.5 or 8%. Now, if the FM decides to lower the outlay from 13 lakh crores to something like, say, 11.5 or 12 or something like that, then I'm afraid we will be taking a hit on GDP growth because private sector capex has still not come to the levels that we were hoping it would. It has not risen as much as we had hoped and we had expected. So the economy still needs to be pumped prime by infrastructure investments. So the bottom line is I'm expecting 13 lakh crores in the allocation in the union budget, and I'm expecting a continuation of the policy of infrastructure investments being the pump primer for GDP. Back to you, Siddharth.
Vinayak, that was a very important point that you make. There are some people who say that the government capex investment is coming at the cost of public sector enterprises capex investment that's not rising sharply, and also the fact that private sector investment is also not performing as to the expectations that we had. Is there a solution to that so that the government's burden comes down in the medium term?
Look, the union budget allocations are independent of the other 3 constituents. I mentioned to you earlier, the other 3 constituents of infra investments are Sigma states, all the states put together, extra budgetary resources, which includes public sector, both central and state, and it includes private sector. So from time to time, private sector falls, PSU goes up, states rise, states fall. But these 3 together in a basket, by and large, match the leading spends of the central government. So PSU are actually not doing pretty badly, and their investment should pick up. There are many frontline states which are spending well, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat. So, and extra budgetary resources are also there, which are outside the union budget. So my belief is that The 13 lakh crores is doable in the union budget because there is revenue buoyancy, there is feel-good factor, there is enough headroom with dividends from the RBI, etc. So 13 is a minimum expectation, and hopefully the 13 will be matched by the other three constituents. And the totality of 26 lakh crores is important because that is going to pump prime the GDP with about 8% growth. Otherwise, we will be hard put to chase economic growth.
Vinayak, even as we expect such large and massive sums of money being invested in infrastructure, you would have seen from the user, from the common man's point of view, visuals of airport infrastructure collapsing, a shed collapsing, newly built roads showing certain deficiencies. Is this par for the course, or do you think in terms of contract implementation and supervision, something more needs to be done that such problems and defects do not occur?
No, these are aberrations, Siddharth. I think we should be proud of the quality of infrastructure. If you see the station redevelopment, the new airports, the quality of the Delhi-Mumbai road and many new expressways, I think we should be celebrating that. Yes, there are some collapses because of some, shall we say, miscalculations on the design or engineering. And there are some issues with regard to India has inherited a huge volume of colonial era installations like rail over bridges, etc., and they require maintenance, they require careful scrutiny. I would treat them as aberrations, and I would celebrate the quality of infrastructure that has been built, not just for middle class India, but including the wide network of PMGSY, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Awas Yojana, the gas linkages, the pipeline, water 24/7, Nal Se Jal, Jal Jeevan Mission, 24/7 electricity. These are all issues to be celebrated, and one or two mishaps, I don't think should be blown out of proportion.
Absolutely. That's a very good point that you make, Vinayak. I'm going to thank you here for your time with us today and for giving us those headline numbers in terms of what to expect from Modinomics 3.0 as far as the infrastructure sector is concerned. Time for a short break. We'll be back with more on the infrastructure sector expectations. Stay with us.
BJP is demanding that you should talk to your Indie partner and try to bring a solution for this from Tamil Nadu.
For what is it?
From Kaveri, sir.
So, what is Prime Minister doing? See, why didn't they speak about the Goa matter, the Kalsa Banduri matter, the double engine Sarkar? What were they doing for so many years? So, they are facing an existential crisis. They are trying to cover up their lack of leadership. Let them do what they have to.
Last year we faced the drought, severe drought. This time little rain, not fully. Our dams are not full, 60%, 70%, 40%. This is the real situation. That's why it is not possible. Appeal to the Supreme Court and giving the little water, 5 to 600 TMC water. See, not 6,000, 5 to 5,000, 6,000 cusacks. That is all-party meeting decision.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Welcome back. You're watching our special programming on Modinomics 3.0 and the first budget of the third term. And joining me now, our infrastructure specialist, Sanjay Londe, Director and CEO of projects at Ashoka Buildcon, and also one of the most well-known infrastructure sector specialists, Professor G. Raghuram, former Director of IIM Bangalore and advisor, the InfraVision Foundation. Professor Raghuram, I start with you for your quick snapshot of what really should the budget be doing as far as the infrastructure sector is concerned over the past few years. We have seen lots of investments. Is that strategy fine for being pursued even now?
Yeah, I would agree that the broad strategy in terms of the public spending on infrastructure is good, should only increase. However, with that, I think there are two things that need to happen. One is, I think, to be able to bring in more funding from the private sector, which I think has not happened in the way it was expected. The bottlenecks connected with how the private sector views the opportunities in infrastructure sector should be taken care of. The contractual arrangements, the whatever makes it comfortable for the private sector. The second aspect is that I think in the interest of more projects, more visibility around projects, somewhere the operations, maintenance, safety aspects, I think, are losing out, or at least the required attention to it is not happening. We can see even with the new infrastructure that's happening, be it the bridge collapses, and I'm not talking about the old collapses of, the pre-independence era, or but of more recent constructions, in the airports or highways, and accidents that we see. Road safety, rail safety. So I think somewhere it's like there is a tear that is happening at the operational front end level. I would hope that the budget would think of certain structural mechanisms to address these concerns. I think we need much more oversight on safety. We need much more oversight on looking at the design, looking at the construction practices. So I think some or a significant part of the budget needs to focus on this.
Okay, let's take that very question to Sanjay. Sanjay, you are a builder. You've done dozens of projects, hundreds of projects, and very difficult ones as well. Does the private sector stand at fault here, or are these aberrations which we should not blow up? What's your view on that?
Yeah, thanks for this question. In fact, this question keeps on biting everybody's mind also. One thing, blowing out of proportion, that doesn't mean we should not find solutions to it. But there are some such kinds of, not wrongdoings, but limitations. But whatever the speed, we are growing, that sustainable infrastructure has to be ensured. So there is no question on that. So every aspect from that perspective has to be seen in advance. And I would precisely add here, as Professor Raghuram just said, and my earlier speaker has also said that we should plan it so well. So we should get sufficient time to see that all these aspects are taken care of in a planning stage itself. So later on during developer, because I come from a developer side, so I would like to see that we keep on doing the work as specified with a defined safety and defined quality assurance, not quality control, but quality assurance per se. So that would have a better impact. So it used to be said earlier, but when we are talking about such a space, the speed of the infrastructure, and maybe these are ikka-dukka situation, but in any case, our all infrastructure should be sustainable. So if you ask me
Sanjay,
in one line...
Sanjay, beyond the quality issues and the discussion around certain specific projects, and that's a small sort of percentage of the overall massive development, what would you suggest is required from a policy focus as far as infrastructure development is concerned? Is there a new policy architecture that you would advocate at this stage?
Not precisely. Now, since outlay is there and we have to focus that they keep on spending, as we are talking about. They should keep on spending 1.3 million crores and plus from private sector. The focus should be on now on execution also. And if you want to be specific, I will go very specific because there are some pain areas which can get rid of. It